Welcome to Share Views with the delightful Stefania Barbaglio from Cassiopeia Services. She's a director and the owner and the founder there. And with Andre Minassian, who is a market forecaster and the owner of Clever Games.
That's correct, Zach.
And we're also joined by Peter Read, who is the founder of the Pelican Trader app. How are you today, Peter and Andre?
Very good, thank you.
Okay, we're speaking in the wake of big movements on the financial markets. We're still enjoying the Trump bump. Is it ever going to end, Andre?
I don't think it's going to end this year in any event. I think the bull market will keep running. We might have small like drops here and there, maybe 1,000 points, 1,500 points, but it's not a correction. So if anybody thinks for 1 second we are going to have a massive correction, you are wrong. This bull market is going to run for at least to the end of this year, and there is no limit where it's going to go right now.
Right, so interest rates going up, Trump puts out a funny tweet or doesn't deliver his infrastructure bazooka, we don't care, it's still going up.
I think this year for 2017 for sure. And when maybe in 2 years or 3 years when the actually reality becomes clear that he actually hasn't really changed much, which is my opinion, then I think the markets will see a drop then. But for now, he promises things that probably won't happen. And in the fine print, you have to see what transpires, you know. And I think if Trump was really the savior, would have, you know, come and said, you know, you have universities for free, or you have some kind of national health in place, if he was going to save the American people. But it's just moving from one corporation to another set of corporations, and it's all in the fine print at the end. But he's an exciting president, and I think it'll be good for America, except he'll start a war with Iran, which I think will be one of his main agendas.
Wouldn't that be a little bit... he couldn't even invade or help with Syria. I mean, the Americans don't exactly have much appetite for putting boots on the ground, do they?
I think they do it by proxy, Zach. And I think...
Putin will help him or something?
You keep mentioning Putin. Putin is not part of their game plan. He's an adversary.
He was a close ally. He helped him win the election and everything. Can't be more of a friend than that.
Putin didn't help him win the elections. I think they've just created this scenario for the public viewing. I think the realities are that Trump and people around him in the United States are really in charge, and now we have kind of Goldman Sachs in charge of the economy of
Well, I think
States.
they perhaps always were. But just finally, on your methodology, you're not a chartist, not a technical analyst. You actually forecast through what, sentiment or your experience?
I forecast through macro geopolitical and economic agendas, which I think beats any long-term or medium-term chart. I'm not talking about short-term charts. And as you know, I've been correct for quite a few years since I've known you, predicting that Dow would hit 20,000 2 years ago, despite so many opposite views. And last month, I stressed that Dow would go up again over 20,000 with the possibility of 22. But now things even seem more bullish right now. I think we are going to have some small drop and then start going back up again towards end of the year. So if anybody thinks for 1 second we are going to have a massive correction, they are very, very wrong. The bull market is going to continue 2017, possibly 18.
Right, just one thing. I mean, one of the positives as far as Trump has been concerned for probably anybody involved with the market is that it's increased volatility, it's increased trading interest. Obviously with Brexit and the Trump victory, many more people were looking at currencies and the markets and indices, and I think that brings in Peter Read with your Pelican Trader app into the conversation at this point. What was your thinking behind producing another app? It's not a Snapchat, not quite up to that valuation yet, but what was your thinking behind it, and how is it different from other similar offerings?
The original thinking came from when we were making software for some of the spread betting platforms, and as part of making that software, we interviewed lots of traders, and there was always this sort of stereotype of a trader sitting in his man shed at the bottom of the garden, never communicating with anybody in the outside world. And in these interviews, that became apparent that just wasn't true. And what they were using, retail traders were using WhatsApp or Skype to be able to share ideas, contact each other, talk about the markets, etc., etc. And this makes total sense if you look at the institutional market. If you're an institution, you go into work, you switch on your Bloomberg screen, and you start messaging other traders. So in its simplest form, Pelican was trying to create a communications network for retail traders like institutions have. Since launching it, it's become very apparent that the things that people want is they want to be part of a community, because trading on your own, particularly for a professional day trader, is lonely, and they want to be able to speak to other traders who get them. And also, I think the markets are moving on. Traders want to learn. They still want to make the decisions themselves. They still want to place the trades themselves, but they want to win, ultimately, rather than just gamble. And so the app puts people like me, who's a relatively novice and inexperienced trader, with people like Andre, and I can go onto his group on the app, Clever Games, and I've got direct interaction with someone who is the best chartist in Britain.
So Peter, I just would like to understand a little bit what makes your app unique. So we see some investor platforms like Lando Southeast where we have the chat rooms and people can actually interact. So the sense of community is quite strong. What you're just describing is actually happening on the Lando Southeast website, on other investor platforms. So what actually makes your app unique and different?
So what makes us different is that we combine that community with an execution platform. So you are seeing the trades that people make in real time and how they are performing. So if we were to set up a group on the app and you could see the trades that I placed that I wanted you to see, and then we could talk about it. And from that app, you can tap on my trade, you can copy it, you can take the opposite side of it if you want to, or you can see how it's progressed since, and you can obviously ask me questions. What are you doing? Or you're taking a bit of a bath there, and laugh at me, or whatever you want to do.
Okay. And Andre, you are a well-known stock market analyst and trader. So now I understand you have a collaboration. You are involved in Peter business. So why are you endorsing them?
It's the first time I have ever endorsed anyone. I have never endorsed any product, any program, any software. I mean, if you go to my website, Clever Games UK, you can't see any advertising even, because I believed in being honest and a soldier for the retail trader. I always saw myself as a soldier for the retail trader. But when I saw this app, I saw quite big potential there. And when I met Peter and Mike Read, I saw this dynamic duo who are very ambitious and wish to accomplish something. And I just kind of related to them. And I thought, I think I will for once.
They're the real deal.
Yeah.
They're the real deal. Yes.
The point we discussed just before we came on here was the regulatory side, because that's a worry that many people have with chat rooms and bulletin boards and everything else. How have you addressed that with the Pelican Trader?
It took us a long time, 3 years to be specific. When we first went to the FCA and asked them, they went to their perimeter regulations team and said, is this a regulated activity? And that was just when Zulu Trade and eToro were emerging on the scene, but in no great size whatsoever. And the FCA just came back saying initially, no, they didn't think that this was a regulated activity. Then they had to think again, and they came back saying, yes, it could be seen, these trade tickets could be seen as an inducement to trade. So they gave us a very low level of regulation. And then, as eToro and Zulu and some of the other people began to grow, they were on the radar of ESMA, the European Security and Markets Authority. And ESMA ruled back in 2013, I think it was, that if you share trades, you can see people's trades, you have to be regulated as A, fund manager, and B, you have to have full retail advisory permissions. So we went back to the FCA and said, this is what ESMA says, this is what you said to us, what do you think? And they came back saying they absolutely agreed with ESMA. So we had to do another load of applications with the FCA. So Pelican is regulated as a fund manager. We're a BIPRU 50k firm, and we have full retail advisory permissions. And that puts us apart from the rest.
That actually gives your company a greater value, really, doesn't it? Because it's a barrier to entry that that other people will have to go through, and therefore you're more valuable.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think all the regulations are up for grabs at the moment. The FCA is obviously looking at leverage of CFDs, but quite frankly, that's just the hors d'oeuvre, the starters to MiFID II and the introduction of MIFIR, I think it is, in January next year. And that will give ESMA the power to shut down the whole industry if it doesn't think it's up to scratch.
A lot of people would be crying very profusely if that happened, obviously. But in terms of what people are trading on, or what they're watching on the app, give us just a quick rundown of the major markets or the major stocks. So what's on there when they get in?
So when you go on there, you've got your execution platform, which is very similar to everybody else's, but obviously better. And then you can go on to a section which is called groups. It's down at the bottom, and on there there's a discover section with public groups and communities and mentors you can go on to, and then you've got your private groups that we can set up with nobody else involved. And so if I go onto the app and I'm looking for expertise on the DAO, I can go and find Clever Games in the Discover section. I can go and request to join Andre's group, and then I can go and interact with Andre there. The major indices are obviously very popular. Currencies are very popular, but there's also a fair amount of US equity trading, and to a lesser degree UK equities that people are interested in.
So Peter, for an investor that would like to understand a bit more about the app, when have you launched it, and how many people you have subscribed now, and maybe how also they can find the app if they are interested?
So it's early days. We launched in the second week of January. We've had about 500 downloads, which has been great. But it's a very small community feel at the moment on the app. You can go and find it on the Android Play Store, or you can find it on the Apple Play Store. And you type in Pelican Trading, download it, and it's a very simple process to join.
Thank you to Stefania, Andre and Peter. Join us next week for Share Views again.
Thank you.